Randomly Selected is an opportunity for people to hear it and feel it. Have you ever been pulled away from something just on a whim, out of nowhere? Randomly Selected. Ever had some food that you really liked, but it was deemed terrible for you to eat? Randomly Selected. What we want to do with this show is kind of flip that. This is our opportunity to give you something that you need, where you get a chance to hear from the notables and the quotables, people who are famous and not so famous. It's a chance to listen to questions that people want to ask these people. Randomly Selected, powered by the Silver Room, hosted by me, Mario Smith. And by the way, please feel free to reach out to your friends and neighbors and tell them to subscribe. Hope you enjoy it. Peace. Welcome back to Randomly Selected. My name is Mario. This is the second episode of what we hope to be hundreds of them, and we're glad that you're here for the ride. Today's episode features my man David Kelly, a.k.a. D. Rashad, a.k.a. Cap D, a.k.a. legal counsel of the Golden State Warriors. We talk about basketball. We talk about his involvement with the Golden State Warriors. I make sure to throw up my Chicago Bulls allegiance. Don't think I slept on that, folks. I didn't. And we talk about all natural Chicago hip hop. They're coming up, how he slayed some dude that I never heard from again. And more important than all of that stuff, we talk about his transformation and how Islam played an important role in that transformation. We hope that you hang out and kick it with us today. This should be fun.
Get that mic out the way so I can see you.
Oh, I got hair.
Oh, look at you. You look the same, though.
Ain't nothing changed. I didn't get no face tattoo since you saw me last.
You didn't get a star on your forehead?
No, I didn't put a diamond in my head like that man did. I got another name for him, but you know, my level of respect for you is so high. I'm not gonna call him an idiot in front of you. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm just chilling, just maintaining.
We generally have started already.
Okay.
Because you know, this is the new world we live in. Man, this is first of all, good seeing you again. Even though people listening to this have absolutely no idea that we're all seeing each other, me, you, and Stefan. But it's good to see your face, and congratulations on all your success with your little basketball team that you work for. I'm glad that you're
nice Bulls mug.
I'm glad that you're happy with your guys, because you know I got my guys
very
too.
Pleased. We were very pleased.
You know, I was thinking about basketball when I was thinking about you, and I was like, man, wow, if only they had like a Michael Jordan on their team. Great. What has this experience been like with Golden State, and considering all the success that the team has had? And then there's a year or two of like, oh man, hold on, you know, changes, players leaving, Durant leaving, things changing in the organization. What has this been like? And now look at the team looks really good again. And on their way. Anytime Draymond is yelling at everybody, it looks like that's a good team. How are you guys handling it?
I think, well, we'll know in a couple years, to be quite honest. What's transition period? We were so fortunate with injuries over the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. No matter how good you are, you need to have health. And then I think we're still good, but we've just been injured the last 2 years. I mean, yeah. Steph misses last year and Clay misses last year. Clay misses this year. You know, it's hard to really know what you have. And so
I didn't mean to cut you. My fault. I know that when your other favorite basketball team was looking for a GM, that would be the Chicago Bulls.
I didn't know who you referred. I thought you were talking about my son's team, or I know who you're referring to.
Aren't they playing football, like soccer football?
Soccer, yeah.
Yeah. How they doing?
They're doing well. I mean, they're not able to play games right now.
Right.
But all three of them they're deep into it.
I still think about you when I watch the Premier League. I'm like, you know, I know somebody on the West Coast is awake watching this. There's one person, if no one else.
Playing Liverpool this Sunday.
Liverpool?
Man City, Liverpool.
Oh, that's right. You're a Man City dude, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm an Arsenal guy. It's gonna be a minute. I'm not having good luck with sports teams and you. I'm gonna work on it. the Bulls job became available, the GM job. There's been plenty of GM jobs that have become available. You're very skilled at what you do as the general counsel for your team, for the Golden State Warriors, and you've done that for other NBA teams too. Was there ever a point when you heard about the Chicago Bulls general manager job becoming available that something you said, I should try and get that job? I can do that job.
Yeah, there are so many people that are more qualified for that job than me. Like, I know what I do. I know what I don't do. And, there's various levels to this. So my path is not the GM path. My path is the business side path.
Potential ownership path?
No. Ownership is completely, you got to be paid for that.
You're right.
The sports teams, basically there's the business side of the organization and the sports side of the organization, whether it's basketball, a baseball team, hockey, whatever. You got your business organization, which you have your general counsel, your chief marketing officer, chief revenue officer, chief financial, all of that. And then you got your basketball side, which is your president of basketball operations, general manager, assistant GMs, all of that. And so the people who are really in line for those general manager jobs are the people who have that assistant general manager title, and they're doing that work kind of full time.
Is there another pursuit within the NBA or any sports organization that's on your mind? You go, man, I think that might be an interesting career move or change, or do you think you're going to be here for the duration?
Man, I'm pretty happy.
I bet. I bet.
It's been a pretty good little run. I like Oakland. I love the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Team is good.
My man Dennis Kim is out there in Oakland.
Yes. I haven't seen him in a minute. It's been a couple of years. But I saw him when I first got out here. We got together a couple of times. Yeah.
You speak his name up, he pops up. So that's a good thing. Hopefully you bump into him.
So maybe in a week or so.
There you go. Smokey's out there. It's a few Chicago people in Oakland. Yeah. Kelly Curry. It's a bunch of folks.
Chicago people everywhere, man. That.
Yes, I do. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask, are you keeping up with your White Sox?
I do, of course.
Because I know you haven't changed that affiliation at all.
No. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
They look good,
it's hard. It's work to keep up with them out here.
Right.
It's not like it's just kind of in your face. So I've become more of a fair weather fan with the White Sox. Like, I'm checking to see how we're doing. Right. And if we're not doing well, then I'm not, like last year, I like probably half the city was or with the White Sox, maybe less than half, given that other team.
Right. Right.
Yeah, no, I was
all right.
No, we don't need it. It's not about numbers. Yeah. It's about loyalty.
I think people in Chicago can still refer to All Natural as one of the most important rap groups to come out of the city. All Natural Inc. being one of the most important crews, and the Fam Tree, the spawn of that crew. Mr. Greenweeds, Rita J, the Wonder Twins, Kaz, Griot, my goodness gracious, Pacifics, Prime Meridian, so important, and Prime Meridian still killing it. So important to our culture, and so important to the overall music that Chicago is known for. And the turns that they made and the history they made can't be understated either. Talking about him and talking about how he slayed this one dude, I can never talk about that enough. It was horrible. I hope that brother isn't listening. If you are, though, sir, you should show yourself, because I haven't seen you in like 20-something years since that night when you got smoked. He cooked you. You should be embarrassed.
Man, I've actually been doing a lot lately.
Really? Tell me more, sir.
Oh yeah. Like a lot.
Is there an All Natural album in the pipeline?
Yeah. Well, did you get the most recent one?
I saw it. The Mole Man one, right?
See?
No. The Mole Man one. Yes, I've heard it. I don't own it. I just got a new setup. Now I can buy vinyl.
Okay. Well, we don't have it on vinyl, so that's on us.
Let me just make it clear to you, sir. I was on Discogs well into the night looking for Second Nature on vinyl.
Nice.
That's my joint. That was like I one of my favorite albums that that All Natural Inc. put out is that album. And I think it's because it was the maturation of you and Tone and the idea that the content took a turn, right? You think about songs like Queens Get the Money, just that idea of elevating the sisterhood and it's so easy to take the low road in hip hop sometimes with the lyrical content, but to be as thoughtful, I won't say smart because I hate when people do that, to be as thoughtful as you are.
That's the right word. That's the right word.
Yeah, I think it added a real genuine grown up quality to it. We were talking, Stefan and I, before we started, about how you guys' trajectory changed because everybody had to grow up. People had families. You got married, started a family. Weeds was already married. Tone, I mean, everybody in that clique in the fam tree started to develop a grown-up life. Did that have a lot to do with the I don't want to use the word declination, but that period where All Natural stopped doing a lot of work?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so it's funny. So let me a couple of questions in there. So you mentioned money.
I'm getting good at this, Dave.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. There's some depth into it. So Queens Get the Money. Interesting you mentioned that song. So that song, and you pointed out the at least attempt to elevate sisterhood and talk. So that song encapsulates everything that you're talking about, even the way that it got made. So at the time, Tone, we were in England on tour after touring off of No Additives, No Preservatives, thinking about the second album. And we were at a club in Manchester, and I was with Zenat, who is now my wife.
Right.
Tone was with Shogi, who is now his wife. Right. All four of us at the club. And the song and the DJ was just scratching up Queens Get the Money, from Mobb Deep. Mm-hmm. And I was just looking at the setting, looking at us, and I was like, man, Queens Get the Money, Queens Get the Money. And it just hit me. And so we were actually, so we were on the path to being more grown, right? On the path to creating families and all of that, still on some hip hop stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's how that song got created. And so that song actually encapsulates everything that you're talking about in terms of the growth. Because we were growing is why, like, if I would have I've heard Queens Get, the line Queens Get the Money a million times, but I had to be in that setting with the four of us together to hear it in that way.
That's that poet's ear. The poet's ear is really the poet's eye. When you see stuff, that setting, that music in that city at that time, with all of that stuff swirling around, and Queens Get the Money comes on by Mobb Deep, and it's like, boom, light bulb moment.
That's right.
Let me write this, and it kind of just writes itself.
That's right. So I'll never forget that moment. And so then as we just continued, on our path as individuals and just creating families, music stopped to be the most important thing in our lives, as it should have, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. And I think I got to a point where it was too important in my life. And so I needed to step away. But now, Tone is still I'm still rocking Tone has his, come on now. Tone has the record store. He and Shogi have their business together, and I'm doing a lot more music now, more recently than I was maybe 5-10 years ago.
And I asked about an All Natural album. You guys put out other groups during that time with All Natural Inc.
Of course.
But the core of it is you and Tone Be Nimble. And
All Natural,
yeah. And I think personally, the most underrated DJ probably walking the earth is Tone Be Nimble, just off of the fact that he has one of the real genuine noses for good stuff. He can smell a good tune. And the fact that you write in the fashion that you do, you two make a really formidable team. So this All Natural album that's coming out soon on the double vinyl, colored vinyl, tricolor, red, black, and green. I remember when you guys were at Mojave Cafe. I remember seeing that album for the first time and going, that's Mojave. Just the connection with Hyde Park, the connection with Chicago. two of my favorite joints, or well, actually one of my favorite rap songs in the world is on there, and that's 50 Years. And it was because I knew the sample 10 seconds into it. I was like, that's Ramsey. Another connection. The idea of how that song is standing the test of time as we inch closer and closer toward hip hop turning 50.
Right.
I wonder the future stuff that you guys create, content wise. We've seen a lot of things happen in the world. Does your focus, I don't want to say change, but is it altered by the events that have taken place in our world?
100%. I mean, a lot of what inspired, like you said before, what inspires me to write are the things that I'm seeing, how I'm feeling, how I'm reacting to those things. Being a father, being a husband, even if I'm not writing about my kids, what I'm writing is informed by the fact that I have kids.
Right.
Right. Even if, so as I'm watching, things that's happening inside of the world, I got to speak on those things and in some ways be shaped or push back on, what's happening around me. So 100%. Otherwise, I don't think that I would feel a reason to write.
Yeah. I remember a night I was asked by my man Leor from the Chicago Reader. They had a big thing about hip hop in Chicago. And I remember a night that you denied, but I'm going to tell it anyway. We were at Double Door, and I can't remember the man who made the mistake of saying that he was going to battle you that night, but Ants 13 got my back. You got up there and you had on your glasses, you may have just come from work or something, and you eviscerated this poor guy, and I've never seen him in hip hop since. I know that people used to challenge you regularly, thinking one thing and finding out another. Does that fire still get in your belly? When it comes to rhyming? Yes. Because I remember seeing your face get you're like, oh, word, this is what we're doing? Bet, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just competitive. I mean, that's why I like sports. I'm a competitive person. That said, I mean, I'm not like at that stage, I was going out to the club a few times a week. And in Chicago, you always have to be sharp. You never know when somebody's just going to just step up, and you just have to be sharp, because the same way you remember it that way, if it had gone the other way, you remember that too, right? And so, and that was just what it was in Chicago. And like you said, Ange was around. I mean, Ange is, so you are around people who are sharp.
Much like gospel music and how religion informs it, Islam has informed a lot of hip hop. See the 5%ers and how they affected groups like Wu-Tang Clan, and how they affected artists like Erykah Badu, and how they still have an influence on a lot of the hip hop music that you hear or have heard. Dave Kelly made a conversion to Islam, and it changed how family tree and how all natural and how he approached music. It's more than just the music, though. This is about a dude transforming and reevaluating his life at the time and turning it into a mega positive that still is his guide to this day. He almost walked away from music because how strongly he felt about not going against the tenets of Islam, and then seeing how those things help to speak to people. Is kind of what the 5%ers, when they talk about how you won't find people going into gyms or bars or restaurants to try to convert people, to try to get them to understand the philosophy of what it means to be a Muslim, and how sometimes you have to go into those dark places to get those people out of them. The same with the music. In order for people to hear what he's saying and to get that message, the music is the biggest informant that we have available to us. So I think in that moment, what happened to him was actually the bigger blessing, and it's why All Natural became even more relevant and more important for people to check out.
I could start it wherever, but it started before. Wherever I started, it started before that. So man, all right. So where I want to start this story. So I had bought a copy of the Quran when I was in college. I was raised Catholic. And when I got to college, I just had problems with organized religion. I didn't believe in any organized religion, what happened. And I bought a copy of the Quran and I started reading it, but I just, I put it aside and put it inside of a trunk and never read it again. And then I went through a period where I just didn't believe in organized religion at all. I questioned whether I even believed in God at all. I came to my own just sort of realization that, yeah, I believe in God, but I just don't believe in religion. I think all religions are man-made and so whatever. And so my wife Zena and I started talking, and she was like, and we were just talking about religion and what have you. And I was like, and basically it started off as me trying to convince, and she's Muslim, trying to convince her that, yeah, this thing that you're talking about doesn't make any sense. And so she was like, well, a lot of things that you're saying about what you believe in, you say you believe in God. That's what a Muslim believes in. You don't believe in a son of God, and, you don't believe in. So a lot of that's really consistent with Islam. And so I was like, oh, well, I got my copy of Quran, read it. And I was honestly reading it to prove her wrong because I'm a lawyer by trade. I wasn't a lawyer at the time, but, I like to debate. I like to be right. I like to prove people wrong, all of that. And so I was just reading the Quran. I was just, as I'm reading it, I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. And once I got in during that same period of time, Mos Def had dropped Black on Both Sides. And so I remember listening to, again, music and hip hop was always a sort of main focal point of my life, especially at that point in time. And so hearing a fellow MC around my age talking about Islam spoke to me. So I remember that at that same point in time. And I'm reading the Quran. Tony and I still doing shows. And I finished the Quran. I was like, I didn't really find anything in that I didn't agree with. And I couldn't say that about any book written by any human being, any man up until that point. Like, yeah, that's great writing, but yeah, that right there, you're on some BS there. And I just didn't feel that way, just in my heart. And so I sat with it for, a few months. I didn't convert at that point in time. I sat with it for a couple of months because the issue for me was that I had been told that as a Muslim, you couldn't do music anymore.
Right.
And like I said, music, when I said earlier, the music had a more central role in my life than it probably should have. That was the thing that kept me from converting for a couple of months, was because music in a lot of ways had become my God. Music was too much the center and focus of my life. Whereas I had read something that I believed to be the truth, but I was not willing to step into it because I didn't want to lose this other thing that I had put as more important than what I acknowledged to be true. And in my way, that's worship. I was worshiping music, and that is, pick your religion, that's a sin in any of them.
Right.
And so a couple of months later, I actually went to a mosque on 47th Street.
Yes.
Yep. Went to the 47th Street Mosque.
47th and Greenwood, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
I used to know the name of the mosque too, and I can't remember the name now.
Oh my goodness. I want to say Al Fatir.
I think it is Al Fatir.
Yeah.
I think it is Al Fatir. Yeah.
So I went, and I just went basically to ask the question about music. And there's a couple of brothers that were there. It was early in the morning, and they said, yeah, as a Muslim, you can't do music. I was like, okay. And I turned around and I left, and I was walking to my car. I was like, dude, you could die on the way home right now. And the one thing that's stopping you from being Muslim is this music thing. Like, you need to choose. And I turned back around and I took my shahada. I became Muslim right then and there.
Oh, wow.
And so then I was praying in that same mosque maybe a couple of months later, and I ran into my guy, Rami Nashashibi. It's the first time I'd ever met him.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about, I was talking to some of the guys I talked to before about music. And Rami was like, well, there's a different point of view on that. You should study that. It's not necessarily that as a Muslim, you can't do music. And he didn't hit me with it too hard, but he just kind of like laid it out for me. He didn't even remember this. Like, that was the first time we met. And so from that, I came to the realization that I could continue to do music as a Muslim. And I think that whole path for me was very important, that I had to believe in my heart I was giving it up in order to step fully into it. And once I stepped fully into it, I was able to get it back.
Wow. That changed a lot for a lot of people. I know that became, I don't know, well, I know you know this, but it became a thing if we were at a show that All Natural was performing at, cats didn't want to at first, but they did. They had to observe the no drinking joint while you guys were performing. And more people than not were like, word, we can do that. Wait, what are they going to do? How many songs are they doing?
How long is the set again?
Are they doing a whole set? Is it a third? But I think people appreciated the fact that you made a decision, right? And it wasn't that they even were cognizant of the fact that you were making a decision, but I think people appreciated, particularly heads, appreciated the fact that you took that and said, this is what I am. This is what I am doing. Right. The music is dope, and I'm doing that too. But get at me if you want to learn about this, because this is something I would love to sit and rap with you about and tell you why this is important to me and why the two are converging. Because the whole thing was, oh man, he ain't gonna be able to do music no more. And I think part of that call was you take your time and figure out what you want to do with the music. But I'm glad that you did that. And I had the nerve to call you like I was some important statesman.
I actually do remember now. I do remember now. I'm glad you brought. I do remember now.
Yeah, that was really silly of me to make that phone call.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
I told Tina, I'm like, dude, I have to talk to him real quick just so I can hear him say it. That was in the midst of the Lit X era, or the ending of the Lit X era, where a lot of what we had been talking about was happening to us and to people around us. And that was just another one of those things. It's like, that man found something that he needed to do in order for him to do this other thing that he loves doing. And I think it's a beautiful part of your story. So I celebrate that. Anne's in that too, because she's a big part of the reason why you did it. Yay, Dr. Z. Dr. Z.
But yeah, I mean, with the doing the shows with no alcohol, like it was, first off, it's kind of clear that I was not going to be like, music was not going to be my profession anymore, because you actually can't have a music career if that's what it is that you're doing. So, right. But the fact that, a lot of people kind of went with me on that was just, it meant a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? That people were, and I think, when you make a decision, people don't have to agree with the decision or not agree with the decision. People just respect it. If they respect you, they respect the decision. And that's what that was. Like, yeah, okay, well, as soon as I get off the stage, I'm drinking this, Bacardi and Coke. But I respect it. Yeah. I don't agree with it. And you don't have to. Right. But I respect it, and I'll observe it just while I'm doing this, and I'm back on what I'm doing. And that is, that's just life. And that's just the scene in Chicago. I think we were at a stage, having dropped a couple of albums, where we could do that, and we had that respect, and there was like the community, and there was just love amongst the heads.
So thanks again for listening and all that, and we really appreciate it. And if you are someone that needs to be checked on, to get your tune up, to get looked after, find the Howard Brown Health Clinic in your area. They are all over the Chicago area, north, south, and west, including the one here in Hyde Park, right on 55th and Lake Park Avenue. The Howard Brown Health Center does work, and if you need something, no matter what it is, find a way, get to Howard Brown. They can help you out. And we thank Howard Brown for being a sponsor of Randomly Selected.
What are some of your memories, shows or just personal stuff from the Wicker Park era?
Yeah, man. Performing at Sub T, performing at Double Door, great memories there. But it's funny. I think probably one of the only times I've ever DJ'd out was in Wicker Park at a Rule One show. Rule One used to have the night.
Yeah.
And it was right before I was leaving to come out here, I think. One of the last nights, my last nights in Chicago before I came out here, if I'm not mistaken. I may be conflating things. Either it was his last night before he moved or one of my last nights before I moved.
Right.
And he just asked me to come out and DJ. And it was, DJing, I was the MC of All Natural, but DJing was always so integral to everything that I was, that's how me and Tone became cool, was through DJing. And that was the only, as I'm, remember, I think that was the only time in my life that I've ever DJed at a club was at a Route 1 event in Wicker Park. So it's funny. Yeah, it's not even on the mic. Like when you talked about Wicker Park, that was the first thing that popped into my head was DJ.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite shows, there's so many. It wasn't an All Natural show. It was a Fam Tree appearance at a Mumia joint that I did at the Chopin. With the Guild Complex. And that was the first time that I could remember where all of you were up there. Like everybody, Wonder Twins, you, Tone, Greenweeds, Rita, everybody. If the Pacifics might have even been up there. Right. If they were affiliated in some kind of way with the family tree, they were up there. That was a really formidable crew in the history of Chicago hip hop. And everybody's doing amazing stuff. Greenweeds is this great actor, right? He was running the Shrine for a minute. Rita J is still killing him. Just an amazing, amazing woman. Not even the music stuff, just as a person, just a dope person. 100%. Tone that you mentioned with the still doing things with the snore and whatnot. Fam Tree was important to the history of Chicago hip hop. Not the only crew by any stretch, but a very different kind of crew. Talk to me about the foundations of that.
Man, it's like, well, I always wanted to have a crew. I always wanted to be a solo artist. I always, as an MC, I shouldn't say always, but I was very comfortable being a solo artist, but I always wanted to be part of just a larger crew of just dope people. Building off of one another, getting, each one making the other one sharper, and so Fam Tree, it was like we were all similar in terms of our love for hip hop and I love the word you said earlier, thoughtful music, but very different at the same time. Like there were no clones. I mean, in hip hop, you can't be, no clones. And each person had, Daily Planet was very different than Iamos Marab, very different from Rita J, very different from Pacific's Prime Meridian, Eulerhythmics. Like, everyone, and Green, like everyone had their own lane, their own sort of universe, and was dope in that. And so, I just always wanted to be just affiliated with other people who I respected and who respected me. And that was also part of like growing a label as well. These are all the artists who were putting out our label. So that was just the genesis of Fam Tree. Marvin, G Riot, like just
my man,
really, really just good people who, not surprisingly, are continuing to do great things inside of their life and just, happy people living life and, just doing stuff.
You've been out on the West Coast for a while now. I know you sneak back in town every now and then for something, family, or just because you miss Chicago so much. And this nice, beautiful weather that we have in December, January.
Yes.
Your Chicago experience is real unique, and I think it formed how you made your music, the stuff you saw. But even within the Chicago stuff, you're a Morehouse grad. What was that like leaving Chicago, the comforts of Chicago, everything you knew, to become a Morehouse man and that situation? And you're what, 96? Class of 96? Something like that?
Yeah, 96 is when I finally got out. I won't say I started in 92. Okay. But I got out in 96.
That's fair enough. What was that experience like for you? And that we try to celebrate all the HBCUs for sure. and their importance to this country and the people who come out of those and their contributions to this country. But for you, leaving Chicago and going down there really kind of without a net, what was that like?
Man, it was one of the best decisions I made in my life, man. I loved my time at Morehouse. There's no other place, and I'm a little biased maybe, but there's no other place in the world to me like Morehouse. There's HBCUs are special. An all Black, all male institution is just doubly special to me. And Spelman to Spelmanite is special to them. I was 18, very, impressionable, hungry, open. My first week at Morehouse, I heard Eddie Glaude speak. And Eddie Glaude was the senior. He was the senior class SGA, the Student Government Association president at Morehouse when I was a freshman. He was a senior.
Okay.
And I remember listening to him speak and thinking like, this dude is like brilliant. And I started writing down quotes from books that I was reading. Like I still have like notepads of like Frederick Douglass quotes and Du Bois quotes. And Eddie Glaude is in there along with all these other luminaries. At that time, at 18 years old, he's 22 probably at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And his 4 years at Morehouse had helped create who he was, and he was helping to create who I was going to be. And that's what Morehouse does. So yeah, and I loved it too much, is why I spent extra years down there. Not going to class.
You and a lot of other Morehouse brothers I know spent a little extra time, a year extra.
A little extra time. But yeah, it was just special to me, man. And it was important for me to lead a house, to be far enough away that I'm just kind of on my own, figuring it out, doing dumb stuff, figuring out as I go along, but always in an environment that was challenging, but at the same time, a lot of love and a purpose of creating men.
Hey everybody, it's Mario. The Silver Room, 1506 East 53rd Street. What do you need? Chances are it's there. It's not a pawn shop though, so don't be coming in there trying to front and do stuff that's ridiculous. The Silver Room, 1506 East 53rd Street. Fall through and check out Eric Williams when you see him, say hello. And if you're not in Chicago, you got to go to thesilverroom.com and make sure you click on the media section and look for Silver Room Digital. Man, son.
I know how important you being able to communicate to your people back here is, and thankfully this platform allows us to talk to people all over the world. I'm wondering, is there anything you want to throw out to these wonderful men and women who are listening to us and listening to you, more importantly than listening to me, and as we walk off of this wonderful show real quick?
I mean, just the importance of Chicago. So it's funny. So after, as important as Morehouse was, the next most important thing for me probably was working at Third World Press on the south side of Chicago and meeting Haki, and meeting Bakari, Twana, and my guy Rashid Shabazz, and just so there's so many, and then becoming a part of just the literary scene in Chicago. As much as I love Oakland, and I love Oakland, it ain't nothing like Chicago. Chicago is different. It's special. And I think people take it for granted. There's so much, the South side for me is its own world. I always tell people over the last 40, 50 years, there have been 3 or 4 Black national leaders. That's it. After King and X, there've really only been 4 national Black leaders. There's Warfdi Muhammad. There was Louis Farrakhan. There was Jesse Jackson, and there was Barack Obama. Hyde Park, Hyde Park, Hyde Park, Hyde Park.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Chicago brings to the world that people don't, and I don't think that we as Chicagoans fully understand it, appreciate it, respect it, honor it, celebrate it. Without Chicago, there's just so much that's happening. Like New York gets all the spotlight and LA gets the spotlight, but Chicago is where Atlanta now gets the spotlight, but Chicago is where so much of it is made. And so when somebody makes it out of Chicago, they become a Kanye, they become a Common, they become a Chance, like they become like something enormous because Chicago is what it is.
I got to tell you, man, there's a lot of people I actually wish I talked to more. I'm a terrible friend. I don't even text you more, but I am so glad that everything that is happening to you and for you is happening. It means a lot to me, even though, and before I bounce, the last championship Golden State won. They're cutting away at the end. And matter of fact, I'm sorry, this was during the series that they won the last championship, but they lost this particular game. And they're cutting away to the locker room, and you're standing off. I don't even know if you know this. I'm looking at it, I go, there's Dave. You're standing not too far away from the door, but you're standing there, and you got a look on your face as they're coming past you, where you look at each one of them in the eye, and you're like, it's all good. It's all good. And you dapping them up. And I'm looking in that moment, I'm like, this dude went from totally embarrassing human beings on stage to becoming an integral part of one of the most successful NBA franchises in history. I mean, my beloved Bulls aside, the Golden State Warriors did work in that section of time. And to see you standing there, man, I was here at the crib. I was like, my man, that's how you do that. That's how you do that. And it was nice to see you in a suit as well. I was like, oh, look, Dave's in a suit.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but like, I take zero credit for any of that. Like,
word, I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel you.
The next shot that I hit will be the first shot that I hit for the Golden State Warriors.
Hey, bro, in this COVID times, you might get a shot.
I might get a. So yeah. Now who the credit goes to. Credit goes to. But it's good to have a front row seat and just to see and basically learn. I mean, we talk about, the maturation of Black men. Like, that's what I watch as well on a regular basis is, just leadership in that locker room and how they hold one another accountable and how, there has to be that love and camaraderie and all that kind of stuff. All the things we talked about in terms of hip hop, same thing happening just in a different environment.
Anytime you want to work one of those contracts where we get a Draymond or a Steph before they get 90 years old, because I imagine they're going to try to play forever, you can send them out here. We got room.
The Bulls are in good hands. My guy I went to law school with is your assistant general manager, JJ Polk.
Oh, yes. JJ Polk is that dude.
Yeah. That's
smart dude.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think we're going to be okay. It's going to be a minute. I like what AK is doing. I really appreciate that Mark Eversley is here because he's a very smart brother as well. JJ Polk. They're taking their time and they're building the franchise back. Just need if the Last Dance taught the world anything, it's just how dope that period of time was to be in Chicago when the Bulls were running things. Oh my goodness gracious. Incredible. And I imagine the same thing was happening out there when Golden State was winning these championships too. But that was just otherworldly stuff.
Otherworld. I remember to sign it off real quick. So I can't remember which championship it was, but one of the championships, the Bulls won it when we had a show at the Metro that same night.
Yes. And I was at that show.
Okay. And we found out that they won and then went on stage like right after that.
It was like it was like a Bull celebration party. People lost. I was there. I was there. Capital D, Cap D, Rashad, Dave Kelly. Thank you, man. And there you go. There you go.
The money.
Who is that on the?
That's Shogi. That's Tone's wife.
Yeah, that is okay. Word.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. I love you very much. My best to the 3 boys who aren't boys anymore.
2 boys and a girl.
2 boys. That's right. I'm sorry. 2 boys and a girl. And the boys aren't boys anymore. They're definitely not boys. They're young men.
Yes, they are.
And please give your wife my best. And thank you, man. This means a lot to me. You doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Man, my pleasure. But appreciate it, man. Much love, brother.
I think Eric will give you like $20 off at Silver Room.
That'll work.
Maybe. We gotta talk to him.
That's more than I expected.
There you go. I love you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, love you, man. Take care.
Right on, brother. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Randomly Selected. We want to thank our special guest, David Kelly, a.k.a. Capital D, a.k.a. D. Rashad, a.k.a. the legal counsel of the Golden State Warriors, for being with us today. And thank you for joining us as well. We'll talk to you soon. In fact, the first Monday of each month, you can catch a brand new episode of Randomly Selected, powered by the Silver Room. Have a great, great moment wherever you're at. Peace.